Hey everyone, welcome back to the Incredible India podcast series. I'm your host, Sam, and sitting right across from me is our resident expert, Taylor.
Hey there. Glad to be back.
So if I told you there is this 20-ton rock in India that has literally been hovering like an inch off the ground since the 1500s, and that some British colonial engineer almost brought down an entire temple just trying to prove it was an optical illusion.
Oh, yeah, it's a wild story.
Right, like where would we even begin to unpack that for this deep dive?
Well, we definitely start by heading down to the Veerabhadra Temple. That's in Lepakshi in Andhra Pradesh.
Okay.
Because we are looking at this architectural mystery that just totally defies our modern understanding of physics, you know?
Yeah, and we aren't talking about some, like, lightweight chandelier suspended from a roof or something.
No, not at all. We are talking about a 20-foot-tall solid granite column, and it simply floats right in the middle of this grand hall.
Which is insane.
Right. It's an anomaly that continues to stump structural engineers even today.
So before we dissect the actual mechanics of a floating boulder, I feel like you really have to visualize the stage where this is happening.
Oh, for sure.
Because the context surrounding this pillar is, arguably just as wild as the phenomenon itself.
Totally. So to grasp the sheer scale of it, we need to travel back to roughly 1530 CE.
Okay, so 16th century.
Exactly. This is right in the golden age of the Vijayanagara Empire under the reign of King Achyuta Deva Raya.
Right.
And the temple itself was commissioned by these two brothers, Virupanna and Viranna. They served as these really powerful governors in the empire's administration.
And their approach to building wasn't just about, clearing a plot of flat land and stacking up some stones.
Far from it. They actually looked at this massive, totally unforgiving granite hillside and basically decided to carve their civilization directly into it.
Which reflects this really specific architectural philosophy they had in the Vijayanagara Empire, right?
Yep.
They didn't want to just dominate the landscape.
Exactly. They wanted to seamlessly blend human craftsmanship with the natural geological formations that were already there.
Which brings us to Vastu Shastra, I think.
Yes, Vastu Shastra. It's this ancient Indian architectural text, basically a highly sophisticated system that dictates how buildings should align with, like, directional forces, sacred geometry, and natural elements.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the builders at Lepakshi integrated these ancient texts with deeply practical engineering.
And you see this most clearly, right, when you walk into the Kalyana Mandapa.
The marriage hall, yeah.
Right, the marriage hall. Because stepping into that hall, it's like walking into a petrified forest or something.
It really is.
You're surrounded by these 70 intricately carved granite pillars, and 69 of them are doing exactly what you would expect a structural pillar to do.
Right, holding the roof up.
Exactly. They are firmly planted into the bedrock, supporting this massive, incredibly ornate stone ceiling right above your head.
And the environmental mastery here is just astonishing. I mean, these 16th century architects incorporated advanced drainage systems to protect the stone from the torrential downpours of the monsoon season.
Which is crucial in that area.
Absolutely. But they also positioned the halls to create natural wind tunnels.
Wait, really? Like passive cooling?
Yes. This passive ventilation keeps the interior cool even during those scorching Indian summers, when it routinely hits 40 degrees Celsius.
See, that's what gets me. We talk about sustainable architecture and passive cooling today as if they are these cutting-edge 21st century innovations.
Right, like we just invented it.
Yeah. Yet here is a society executing these concepts flawlessly half a millennium ago. It completely challenges our timeline of human progress.
It really does.
We just assume ancient builders were using trial and error, but the math required to plan for the thermal expansion of stone in that kind of heat, or to incorporate seismic considerations so the structure survives earthquakes, that requires absolute precision.
And the precision is undeniable. Picture it. You are walking through this magnificent marriage hall, taking in the 69 load-bearing columns, admiring the natural cooling, and then you encounter the 70th pillar.
The anomaly.
The anomaly, exactly. It breaks every single rule of traditional architecture.
Because it looks completely normal at first glance, right?
Yeah, it's a massive granite column, matched perfectly in style and intricate carving to the rest of the hall. But then you look down.
And there is a distinct visible gap between the base of this specific pillar and the temple floor.
Right. You can actually see daylight streaming underneath it. The gap varies between half an inch to a full inch, depending on where you look.
And I love this part. For anyone listening who's thinking, oh, this is just a clever trick of the light or some hidden pedestal, the local temple guides have actually developed an interactive ritual to prove you wrong.
Yeah, visitors are actively encouraged to test the suspension.
Which is so cool.
It is. People will take pieces of paper, thin cloth, or even long articles of clothing, like a sari, and they literally pass them completely underneath the 20-ton stone.
Just sliding a piece of fabric under a 20-foot rock and meeting absolutely zero resistance. I mean, that is the ultimate physical proof.
Yeah, it confirms there is absolutely no contact with the ground. It is hovering.
Okay, so obviously a mystery of this magnitude inevitably attracts people who believe they can solve it by force.
Oh, of course. Enter the British colonial era.
Naturally.
So, local legend says an engineer visited the site back then. He saw this hovering pillar, assumed it was either like a construction error or maybe resting on some invisible central peg.
Right.
And so he decided to just forcefully move it to uncover the mechanics.
Think about the absolute arrogance of that moment. You see a delicate 500-year-old architectural puzzle, and your first instinct is to, just shove it.
Yeah, pretty much. And the story goes that the moment he applied significant lateral force to shift the pillar, the entire temple structure began to violently shake.
Oh.
Yeah, the structural integrity of the surrounding walls and the ceiling was immediately compromised. He was actually forced to abandon the attempt before the roof literally collapsed on his head.
Okay, let's unpack this with a metaphor. Because the entire temple sounds like a massive, impossibly complex stone Jenga tower.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right, like you scan the tower and you see one piece near the bottom that looks completely loose. It is just hovering in its slot.
Yeah.
But the second you try to pull that block out, the entire tower destabilizes. Because that quote-unquote loose piece is actually the linchpin distributing tension across the whole structure.
That Jenga analogy captures the physics beautifully, actually. And it leads us directly into the theories modern engineers have developed to explain how a 20-ton rock can float.
Okay, lay them on me.
So the first major hypothesis is balanced cantilever construction.
All right, I need to wrap my head around this one. Are we saying the pillar isn't meant to hold the ceiling up, but rather the ceiling is holding the pillar up?
Exactly. Think of it as a massive stone seesaw.
A seesaw.
Yeah, the architects created this incredibly complex network of interconnected stone beams up in the roof.
Okay.
They calculated the precise center of mass for this 20-ton pillar and perfectly counterbalanced it against the surrounding architectural elements above it. So the weight of the pillar is distributed across multiple structural tension points in the ceiling grid.
Wait, I need to push back on this perfect seesaw idea for a second.
Sure.
Because we are talking about a 500-year timeline here. Granite erodes. The geological foundation of a hillside shifts. Plus, India gets earthquakes.
Right.
Even if these builders totally nailed the center of gravity in 1530, how does a suspended 20-ton stone not eventually tip over or just pull the whole roof down after 5 centuries of monsoons and seismic activity?
Well, that is the million-dollar engineering question. And you're right, the cantilever system alone probably couldn't survive that timeline.
Okay.
This is why engineers believe a second mechanism is simultaneously at work here, which is called compression arch principles.
And how exactly does that stabilize our stone seesaw?
Well, in a standard pillar, gravity pulls the weight straight down into the floor, right?
Like straight down.
But in a compression arch system, the immense downward pressure of the pillar's weight is cleverly caught by the stonework above and around it. And that force is redirected horizontally.
Oh, I see.
So instead of the weight pushing down, the forces are pushed out sideways into the surrounding ceiling structure. It completely bypasses the ground.
Okay, going back to the Jenga tower then. Pulling out that loose-looking block was dangerous because the block wasn't resting its weight downward.
Exactly.
It was pushing outward, keeping the adjacent blocks tightly wedged together. So the stone is essentially caught in a web of horizontal forces.
You nailed it. But wait, we can add a third layer of complexity to this?
There's more.
Oh, yeah. There is this fascinating theory involving harmonic resonance stabilization.
Harmonic resonance.
Yeah. This hypothesis suggests the builders actually understood how to use sound and vibration as a structural tool.
Okay, acoustic vibrations stabilizing a stone building. That sounds borderline mystical to me.
It does, right. But it actually comes down to friction.
How so?
Well, the physical dimensions of the temple halls create these specific natural frequency patterns. When ambient sounds like chants, the wind, or temple bells, when they reverberate through the heavy stone, they create micro-vibrations.
Okay.
And these vibrations cause the microscopic joints between the massive stones to constantly settle and lock together. So the acoustic resonance increases the friction at the joint systems. It essentially acts as an invisible glue that locks the suspended pillar in place.
That is just mind-blowing. We're talking about center of mass calculations, horizontal load-bearing matrices, and acoustic friction.
Yep.
And they executed all of this with hand tools and ancient trigonometric text.
And recent 3D laser scanning actually confirms the sheer sophistication of those joints.
Oh, they've scanned it.
Yeah. The scans revealed these microgaps and incredibly complex interlocking systems between the hanging pillar and the surrounding roof structure. These nearly invisible connections preserve the illusion of complete suspension, all while providing the invisible microsupport needed to keep the structure intact through earthquakes.
And Lepakshi is not an isolated incident of this kind of genius either. The sources for this deep dive point out the Veerabhadra Temple in Telangana.
Oh, right, the floating sand foundation.
Yeah. The builders there used a floating sand foundation to act as a seismic shock absorber. It allows the massive stone structure to literally ride the waves of an earthquake.
It's brilliant, and we see parallel breakthroughs globally, too. Like China's Hanging Temple, that's suspended directly into sheer cliff faces using cantilever timber, or Japan's Kiyomizu-dera, which creates these massive floating platforms without using a single metal nail. They rely entirely on complex, interlocking wood joints.
It shows that ancient builders possess this profound, intuitive grasp of physics that we are only now mapping out with lasers and computer models. And the same mathematical precision required to hang that 20-ton pillar wasn't just reserved for the stonemasons. I mean, the Veerabhadra Temple is a masterpiece where engineering essentially serves as a canvas for the arts.
Oh, absolutely. The discipline applied to the structure was equally applied to their chemistry and acoustics.
Let's talk about the art then.
Well, the Kalyana Mandapa, the very hall with the floating pillar, features a ceiling that is just blanketed in brilliant frescoes.
They are gorgeous.
They depict these sweeping scenes from the great Hindu epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And the centerpiece is this sprawling, multi-armed depiction of Lord Veerabhadra himself, just dominating the overhead space.
Now, the chemistry behind these paintings is what really caught my attention in the research. The technique used here is called fresco secca.
Right.
Now, in a traditional wet fresco, an artist paints directly onto wet plaster. As the plaster dries, the pigment is physically absorbed into the wall, becoming part of the structure itself. It is incredibly durable.
Fresco secco, however, involves painting onto completely dry lime plaster,
which naturally presents a massive chemical hurdle. I mean, if you paint on a dry wall, the pigment doesn't absorb.
Right. It just sits there.
Exactly. It just sits on the surface ready to flake off the moment the humidity changes.
So to solve this, the Lepakshi artisans had to engineer their own chemical binders. They sourced local plant gums, resins, and minerals to create this custom medium.
Wow.
Yeah, it would forcibly adhere natural vegetable dyes to a completely dry lime surface.
The fact that these vivid reds, ochres, and greens have survived 500 years of blistering heat, monsoon moisture, and centuries of exposure without just peeling away, I mean, it's a testament to how deeply they understood material science.
Absolute.
Their chemistry was as structurally sound as their physics.
And the scale of the artwork pushes boundaries, too. Just outside the main temple complex sits this colossal sculpture of a Nandi bull.
Oh, right.
It measures roughly 15 feet high and 27 feet long.
And for anyone visualizing this, remember that this isn't assembled from smaller blocks. The entire 27-foot bull is carved from one single monolithic granite boulder.
One rock. And the anatomical detail they managed to extract from it is breathtaking. The tension in the resting legs, the intricate jewelry carved around the neck.
It's stunning.
And that mastery of material extends back inside the temple with the musical pillars.
Oh, I love this part.
Yeah, there is a cluster of 7 specific columns. They are carved in such a way that when you tap them gently, they produce the 7 distinct notes of Indian classical music.
Which brings us right back to the concept of resonance we were talking about.
Yes.
They were carving solid granite to specific densities and hollows just to yield precise acoustic frequencies.
And running a project of this magnitude required immense organization. The Vijayanagara Empire utilized a highly sophisticated guild system to pull this off.
Well, you'd have to. You would need master architects calculating horizontal load distribution.
Yep.
You would need stonemasons who could carve delicate musical instruments out of boulders, and chemists developing centuries-lasting binders for the painters.
Right, it's all connected.
Fusing the structural physics, the chemistry, and the art into a flawless whole. It requires a level of collaborative discipline that is honestly staggering.
And all of this engineering and art is ultimately in service of the mythology, which is woven directly into the bedrock of the site. I mean, the name of the town itself, Lepakshi, holds deep cultural weight.
Yes, the name connects directly to the Ramayana. According to the epic, this is the exact geographical spot where the divine bird Jatayu fell from the sky.
Right.
He had been mortally wounded in a battle with the demon king Ravana while trying to rescue Sita.
And when Lord Rama found the fallen bird, he supposedly spoke the words Lepakshi.
Which in Telugu translates to rise bird. Right?
Exactly, rise bird.
The mythology gives the site such an incredible gravity. You have a nearby hill featuring a massive Hanuman statue, marking where the deity reportedly rested.
Mm-hmm.
So the temple isn't just a puzzle for engineers to debate. It really acts as a cultural anchor. It is a living center of faith where the architecture connects modern worshippers to their ancestral epics.
Now, for a listener mapping out how to actually stand in this hall and maybe slide a piece of paper under a floating rock themselves, the practical logistics are highly accessible.
Okay, give us the breakdown.
So the Pakshi is located in the Anantapur district of Andhra Pradesh. It's about 120 kilometers from Bangalore.
Which means if you are flying into Bangalore, you are looking at a very manageable 2.5-hour drive.
Very manageable. You just take the NH44 highway north towards Hindupur. But the key to truly experiencing Lepakshi is timing.
Oh, definitely.
You do not want to arrive in the middle of a July afternoon.
Picture yourself exploring an open granite courtyard. If you go in the summer, that stone acts like a literal oven radiating 40-degree heat.
It's brutal.
And if you go between July and September, you are battling the monsoon rains, which changes the entire experience.
So the ideal window is between October and March. The temperature drops to a really comfortable 15 to 25 degrees Celsius.
Perfect.
And specifically, you want to arrive early in the morning between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m.
Arriving at 7 a.m. on a crisp October morning gives you a massive advantage. First, you bypass the heavy weekend tourist crowds, allowing for a quiet, personal encounter with the space.
Which is so important.
And, more importantly, you get the morning sunlight. If you want to clearly see those fresco secco murals, or photograph the sunlight streaming through that 1-inch gap beneath the hanging pillar, the golden hour light is absolutely essential.
Standing in that morning light, looking at a structure that defies gravity, it really shifts your perspective on history.
It does. It leaves you with a profound, lingering question.
Yeah.
We are staring at a 20-ton piece of granite, hovering in midair, engineered by people wielding chisels over 500 years ago.
Unbelievable.
If 16th century guilds could calculate tension points, acoustic friction, and chemical binders so perfectly that their work outlasts modern concrete, what other advanced principles of physics have we entirely forgotten?
It really makes you wonder.
When we look at ancient ruins around the world and dismiss their anomalies as myth or magic, how much of it is actually highly advanced engineering that we simply haven't decoded yet?
That is the exact challenge a place like Lepakshi presents to the modern mind.
If you decide to travel to Lepakshi or elsewhere in India, we have a recommendation. Five Senses Tours organizes tours across India, which are immersive cultural experiences. You can email contact@fivesensestours.com. Note 5 is written as a numeral in contact@fivesensestours.com, or WhatsApp to +919 845 677446.